Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining today's Small Business Bootcamp. I'm Robert Theobald, Small Business Ombudsman and Vice President of Small Business Services at the Arizona Commerce Authority, and your host for today's session. We're excited to have everybody with us. One of the things we like to do is, just as Lisa did right there in the chat, is post in the chat where you are tuning in from. So we've got Lisa from Avondale. We like to see where everybody is tuning in from, whether it's in Arizona, outside of Arizona. Sometimes we have people from multiple states and multiple countries. But I see Mesa, Chandler, Glendale, Gilbert, Chandler, Phoenix, Levine, Casa Grande, Scottsdale, Show Low, California, representatives from California today. Buckeye, Mesa, Phoenix. All righty. Again, if you just joined us, post up in the chat where you're tuning in from. We'd love to see that, but we will continue on. So we're excited to have everybody with us today. Those that are new to the Small Business Bootcamp, we like to start by thanking all of our community partners. We could not do these webinars without them, their time, their effort, and their expertise. They all willingly give back of their time and their expertise to help small businesses, and we are grateful for them. This is just a sample of the 235 plus different presenters that we've had on the bootcamp over the last 4.5 years. And we continue to add new great speakers. So those that are new to the Small Business Bootcamp, it is not just the webinar series every Tuesday morning, but we also do some virtual webinars and some hands-on workshops with the idea of helping small businesses prepare, plan, and grow their business. We also record all of our virtual webinars and workshops and have those can be accessed in our content library. So we have well over 300 recorded webinars in our content library, and there's no cost to access those either. You can find those on the Bootcamp homepage. At the very bottom of the screen, we'll link to the content library. The ACA also has a number of other programs to support small businesses throughout the state. We have programs in manufacturing, of course, small business, innovation and entrepreneurship, rural economic development, international trade, talent training, tax incentives, and more. You can find all these programs at azcommerce.com/programs, or you can scan that QR code and it will take you over to the page. Also, one of our key programs we like to talk about is our small business checklist. This is an online interactive tool that helps small business owners that are looking to start or expand their business to understand the commonly requested licensing, registration, and compliance requirements at the local, state, and federal levels. It also includes a lot of other great information, and to help navigate the checklist, we have a very in-depth checklist. But to help navigate that, if you don't want to use a checklist part of it, you can work with our virtual assistant, Sally. Sally stands for State and Local Licensing Information, and is a great tool on there. And as we're talking about AI today, Sally has, you can leverage her AI abilities. She's been very trained and educated on our checklist program. Another upcoming event starting next Monday is our ABC's Academy and our Small Business Academy programs. This is in partnership with SCORE Greater Phoenix, and it's a 3-part series to help those looking to start a business understand the key items for taking your idea to getting into business. It's from 3 to 5 on Mondays, starting this next Monday. So if you're interested, it's a great series. We're really excited to partner with SCORE on that. We'll post a link for that in the chat. Also, one of the programs that we manage from a federal grant is called the State Small Business Credit Initiative Technical Assistance Program. And that program partners with Prestamo CDFI to run some Funding Your Business workshops throughout the state. So the next one is shown here on the screen, but you can scan the QR code to find the upcoming sessions. They are throughout the state and virtual, and it's a great workshop to help businesses understand what type of funding mechanisms are available for your type of business. So please check that out. So here's our list of our next 3 weeks of boot camps. We've got some great sessions, and so we hope you can attend them. And with that, we're going to jump into today's session. Today, we've got Naren and Sarbani from Startup Wind. We have worked with Naren at Startup Wind for many years now. We used his platform for a while for some of our programs, and he's a great friend of ours, and we're glad to have him with us, very knowledgeable on marketing. And so we're going to stop sharing our screen and turn it over to Naren and Sarbani to share with us their information. One of the key things we do want to share and make note is at the bottom of your screen, you will see a button that says Q&A. Please use that for your questions, so we don't get your questions lost in the chat, as we occasionally use the chat for interaction. And we want you to be able to ask those questions and not get them lost. So Naren, we see your screen. If you can put it into a slideshow presentation, that'd be awesome. And it is all yours.
Thank you so much, Robert and Faith. Sarbani, you want to get started and then I'll get going?
Absolutely, Naren. So good morning, everyone. As we see that startups and small businesses, they struggle to generate leads and grow their business. Many business owners who spend thousands on ineffective marketing strategies, for them, there's a smarter way to drive demand. In this webinar, you'll discover how AI-powered blogging and SEO can revolutionize your approach to marketing. And we'll also learn how to craft a strategy that improves our website's ranking, attracts qualified leads, and boosts online visibility. By leveraging AI, you can streamline content creation and demand generation, making it faster, more affordable, and highly effective. I would like to introduce our speaker for today, Naren Patil. Naren is the founder and CEO of Startup Wind. Naren has 25 years of experience in marketing and demand generation. He has collaborated with more than 10,000 small businesses on the Startup Wind platform. Prior to Startup Wind, Naren was GM and head of product marketing at Saba Learning and had a revenue target of $100 million. He was chief marketing officer at big data startup at NG Data, as director of product marketing at BEA, which was later acquired by Oracle for $9 billion. Naren grew their hottest product from $25 million to $50 million in just a year. He was the head of products at TriNet, a $2.5 billion software company, where he was responsible for the entire product portfolio. He joined the company pre-IPO, which then went IPO. Additionally, Naren has been a speaker at the TiCon Silicon Valley and been showcased in publications like the Forbes magazine. Naren has an MBA from the Northwestern Kellogg. He also teaches marketing adjunct at the University of South Carolina and has over 1,000 enrollments in the courses on the Startup Wind Innovation Platform. Naren, over to you.
Thank you, Sarbani. I want to give a special thank to Robert and Faith and my friends at Arizona Commerce Authority. Again, welcome everybody to today's session. This is a two-part series, part one of the role of AI in digital marketing for startups and small businesses. So let's look at the agenda really quick. We'll quickly look at story of an entrepreneur, right, and the journey that he or she goes through. Jonathan in this case. And then we'll look at the challenges for startups and small businesses when it comes to driving demand. And then there are 7 effective ways to create your digital marketing strategies, right? So we'll cover those 7 steps. And then we are doing this in 2-part series. So part 1, which is today, we will cover messaging, positioning, blogging, and SEO strategy, and how AI actually is changing the game, right? So we're going to actually showcase you how AI can make it very, very easy, not just in terms of speed, but also in terms of cost efficiency. In the next session, which we will do as part of this 2-part series, which is going to be on February 18th, We're going to cover email and social marketing and how AI is impacting that. Towards the end, we'll put it all together to actually show you how you can actually do it using AI, right? Of course, as Robert said, we'll open it up for the questions towards the end. So let's talk about Jonathan. So I met him in South Carolina, and basically he has an AR VR software company, and he told me my software is so good. When I made 2 prospect, I closed 1, and I'm like, beautiful. How many you met last month? Pin drop silence. Then we say, okay, let's back up and let's look at the entire last year. How many you met? And he mumbles about 10, right? That's the problem. If he would have met 40 people, he would be close to $2 million ARR, and he would be getting that funding he's looking for, and he would be on a completely different trajectory. So I said, Jonathan, are you doing something about it? And he said, yeah, I spent $60,000 on an agency in 6 months. I also hired somebody full-time to oversee that effort. And I'm just listening, right? And that 70,000 is possible only because he's in South Carolina, right? Elsewhere, it's going to be a lot more. And he said, Naren, you're not asking me what was the impact in terms of the qualified leads or sales meetings or the pipeline. You're not asking me anything. And I said, no, I'm not going to ask you. You got nothing. I know that because I meet many Jonathans day in and day out. The agency model is completely broken for startups and small businesses, right? There are fractional CMOs which will charge you $5,000 to $15,000 a month, 1 day a week service. Some of them are good. Some of them are good. Don't get me wrong. They do strategy and messaging. Who's going to do rest of the stuff, right? You still need content writers. You still need somebody who can do email marketing. You need a specialized SEO agency. You need social media agency. I spoke to somebody who has a yoga studio several months ago in Phoenix. And the lady said, yeah, I pay $3,500 to the SEO agency. And when I asked her, what do they do? She said, oh, we have some content and they add keywords to it, right? So people are getting ripped off. The cumulative cost of agency model can be between $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 or more. I actually yesterday spoke to somebody who was spending $27,000 from Phoenix, right? She had a weight loss center and she's spending $27,000 per month on marketing, and the results are not there because most entrepreneurs are too busy. They're paying. They're already playing multiple roles, right? They don't have time. They don't have skill set of doing end-to-end marketing, and many of them don't have that kind of budget, right? Many of them don't have that kind of budget. So that's the problem. So let's look at how we can actually solve it, right? How we can actually take steps towards solving it. So there are 7 steps, right? A path to solution. Because a lot of times when you go to these agencies, you don't even know the mechanics of marketing and what to ask and what to expect. So let's look at those 7 steps. First of all, you have to have a clear buyer persona, right? Who you are selling to. What is your ideal buyer? What's their profile looks like? What are their needs, wants, feelings, attributes, right? That's the first step. Once you know your characteristic buyer, then you are looking at, I need more people like this characteristic buyer. If the characteristic buyer is Ashley, for example, I need more Ashleys, right? So that I have a segment which I can market. Otherwise, I cannot actually run a business in a profitable manner. So you got to then go and find the right segment. And we'll cover each one of these steps in a lot more depth. And then once you find the right segment, a group of people or group of companies that behave similarly, right? Then you can actually have very tailored, messaging and positioning, right? And how do you actually create that positioning? People charge $10,000, $20,000 just to do strategy and messaging. How do we do that? So I'll showcase that to you in a matter of 4 lines, 5 lines. You can actually create your own positioning and pretty damn positioning, right? So these are fundamentals. These are fundamentals. If you don't have these right, rest of the stuff is going to go wrong. Everything is going to go completely wrong, right? So let's get this thing done. And then I'm talking here blogging, but this is not just blogging. This is overall your content strategy, because ultimately content attracts people, right? Content attracts people. So what's your blogging strategy? How you're going to actually create content that is going to solve somebody's problem and bring them to your site or to your store. And then Even if you have great content, let's assume you have great content. If you don't have technical SEO done properly, you're not going to be discovered and understood by search engines like Google. And so your great content will sit on shelf, right? So these two allows you to really have a strategy where you have compelling content and the content is discovered by people, right? But what happens is most small businesses and startups, their domain rating is 0 or sub-zero, significantly low. So even if you do all of this right, the traffic that you will get organically will be minuscule unless you're taking a lot of money, pile of cash, and trying to run ads, which is waste when your domain rating is low, which is truly waste, right? So then what do we do? Then what you do is you actually run email, social media, and nurture campaigns to send people to that great content you have on the website. And so today we're going to double click on these two a lot more. I will cover the basics really quickly. And then in part 2, we will cover email and social media marketing, right? So that's where we're going to go. Let's keep going. So buyer persona. Again, what you're trying to find out is what that characteristic buyer, what are his or her needs, wants, feelings, aspirations, goals, right? What's the demographic, right? What's their background? What are the challenge, common objections, fears, and try to form that persona. And this is an example of a persona, which is Petra, right? In this case, she's a 29-year-old single woman, assistant editor, works for Fortune magazine, lives in Lower East in New York, right? She went to Brooklyn. She lived in Brooklyn as a child, right? Grew up there. Went to NYU. Very aspirational, very ambitious. Work takes more than 12 hours. Most of the evening spent on marathon training and yoga practice. But she also wants to pursue a blockchain certificate, right? Bottom line is you start getting a holistic view of that buyer persona when you start creating that, right? What is my characteristic buyer that looks like, right? Their needs, wants, feelings, aspirations, goals, objections, and so forth. Now, once you have that, a lot of companies which are just starting off, your buyer persona would be somewhat fictional. And those who are in business for a while, you will have a decent idea. Only thing is you're going to firm it up. You're going to actually formalize it properly, right? Now, if you are really starting off and it's fictional, how do you bring it close to the reality? There are two techniques: one-on-one interviews and focus groups. And this is too time-consuming and expensive for small businesses to pull it off. So focus on this. One-on-one interviews. It may sound daunting, but once you talk to 5-6 people, you start getting a little bit of idea. Once you talk to another 10, you get much better idea. Once you do about 30, you have a statistically valid sample, and you start realizing a pattern in terms of what the challenges are, what the common behavioral attributes are, and then you have your persona that is a lot closer to reality than being a fictional persona. Okay, so you found your characteristic buyer. You found that Ashley or John, right? You found them and what their key characteristic, key behavioral attributes are. Now you want more of them. You want to find a segment so that it becomes a viable business, right? So in that case, a segment is a group of buyer who behave similarly. They have common needs, wants, and feelings and attributes, right? So now how do we find the segment? How do we find the segment? So first of all, what are the common pain points? Right? Their common needs, common behaviors, common desires. Who benefits the most? Is this segment large enough for you to even have a viable business? And is it too large where it's actually not specific and it's not reachable, right? Some people say, oh, anybody who goes and shops online is my customer. That's too broad, right? You can't reach that. You can't target that properly, right? Is the segment even profitable? What is the competitive position, right? From a penetration perspective of other alternatives, because if it is 70, 80%, then you better be 10x better. If not, you better find a greenfield market where actually you have a lot better chance of succeeding. What are the current alternatives if you don't have a competition? Alternative for a software company could be manual processes, right? Manual processes. How is your competitive positioning? How differentiated are you? Is the differentiator sustainable enough? And is this segment willing to pay and willing to pay a premium, right? These are the different aspects you take into account before finding the right customer segment for your business. Quick example, even company as large as Apple, they don't target everybody in the smartphone market, right? They target the high incomers, and they also target aspirers who aspire to have certain lifestyle that portrays their social class, right? These are some high-level examples. So now we have the buyer persona. We know how to find the segment. Now we have to really make sure that to that segment, our messaging is on point, right? So let's go through that. Now, Michael Porter, management guru from Harvard, what does he say? There are only two ways to compete. You can either be cheap or you can be different, right? Now, you could be cost effective. I don't want to use the word cheap, cost effective, if you have a process or technology that makes it significantly, lower cost, which is not possible for other people to replicate. In that case, you're really not cheap. You're actually different. You have a differentiator in terms of either that technology or that process, right? Okay, so how to create your company's positioning, your business's positioning. This is a simple framework. You're going to edit the pink or red area as well as the blue area, right? For your target customer segment, your company is, and again, here you're going to specify the category. If you're a restaurant, you're going to say the category is restaurant here, right? Which provides, what are the main benefits you offer to the consumers or even to the companies you serve if you are B2B. And then unlike your competition, so mention your competition here. You can mention in a generic way also. And then how you are different from your competition. Very simple framework. If you spend about 10, 15 minutes, you can actually come up with pretty decent, positioning statement, which should be a guidepost for all the content you create. Otherwise, the content will become almost garbage, right? Okay, I'll give you a couple of examples. So there is a restaurant in New York City called Veere the Dhaba. And I saw their positioning and I was like, wow, these guys nailed it. So for foodies in New York City, right? Veere the Dhaba is the category. Category is Indian restaurant and what benefit they give, which provides mouth-watering roadside Punjabi food. Again, already they are slightly differentiating, not just a typical run-of-the-mill Indian food here, right? Punjabi food, roadside. And unlike most Indian restaurants in New York City, Veere the Dhaba provides delicious food by a Michelin star team at affordable price. You can't beat that. So completely differentiated, right? Because there are hardly 2 or 3 chefs, Indian chefs in the US who has Michelin star. So if you can have a Michelin star chef and his or her recipes and at an affordable price, this is highly differentiated. How do you check if your positioning is Me Too or not? Because if it is Me Too, you will simply destroy the profitability for yourself, right? You replace the company's name, your company's name with the competitor's name and see if it rings true, right? I'm going to quickly give one more example, more of a tech example, right? For startups and small businesses in the US, Market Engine is the marketing as a service. And what are the benefits? Which provides 10 times faster demand generation at 75% lower cost than agencies. And unlike agencies and the isolated tools, it provides rapid demand generation, which is powered by generative AI and assisted by human marketing expertise. So you can take this framework and create positioning for your business, because unless these 3 steps are right, rest of your marketing is going to go completely wrong, right? Now let's get into the meat, which is blogging and content strategy, and then SEO. So, I mean, these numbers keep getting staggering and staggering. There are billions of people who shop online, who go online. Blogging is one of the most inexpensive and effective way to drive organic traffic, and lead them to your business or lead them to your website, right? So let's keep going. Now, if you write an article or blog once in a while, right, it's a drop. It's not even drop in the bucket, but it's a drop in the ocean, right? The random occasional content is simply waste of time and money. What you need is a strategy, right? You need depth and breadth of the content to signal Google that you have authority, you have subject matter expertise in that particular subject. And so what you need is something called a topic cluster, where you have the main topic and the subtopics around it, and all of them are clustered together. So it starts showcasing that depth and breadth. So you need a pillar page, which is the center one here, right? And then you need subtopic pages, right? Around it, all of them stitched together. that starts signaling that you know this subject matter, you have the expertise and authority. Then what you need is on-page SEO, because you may have great depth, but if the on-page SEO is not done properly, Google is not going to understand your content, and then it's not going to bubble up, right? So you need on-page SEO. And once you have all of the basics done, you need to start building your domain authority. And I'm going to cover each one of these as we kind of go along. But again, this is a very important side. I know many marketers or even marketing consultants, they have no clue about some of these stuff. Okay, example. This is celebrity chef Alton Brown from Food Network. And just an example of the topic cluster. The topic cluster is comforting soup. The pillar page is how to make comforting soups all winter long. And then there are subtopic pages or blogs or articles, right? Chicken soup and butternut squash and whatnot, right? Bottom line is that showcases that Alton Brown knows a thing or two about soups, right? And basically starts creating that depth and the breadth of the content. Now, great. Now we have the strategy. We have our cluster. We need to write. What should be the structure of your blog or your article, right? Of course, you're going to introduce what your blog is going to cover, right? And what are they going to get out of that in the first paragraph, right? That's the hook. And then you're going to outline what it's going to cover. Then the story comes. That's where your body is. The story comes. And then, of course, you will have your subtopics listed so that from there will be hyperlinks to the subtopic blocks so that the cluster is completely formed. And then towards the end, you're going to have a conclusion and call to action. Now, the key is story becomes most important. Otherwise, so many people write 5 best practices of doing something, right? Very boring. Nobody looks at it, right? So you need a story that is humanized. So let me tell you importance of having humanized story, right? What did Mother Teresa say? She said, if I look at the mass, I will never act. If I look at one, I will. So again, telling that story of one person or one company, their challenges, their trials, tribulations, struggles, and ultimately triumph, that will connect because it's a humanized story. That's why we have to tell a humanized story, right? Nobel Prize winner, Daniel Kahneman, what did he say? Nobody ever made a decision because of a number. They need a story. Most of the decisions are made. People move because something touches their heart, right? That's why storytelling is important in that body of your content. Otherwise, it becomes very dry content, doesn't go anywhere. So now it's one thing to say, tell a story, humanize, engaging story, but most people don't know how to do it. I'm going to demystify that for you. A framework from my professor at Kellogg, Professor Craig Wartman, right? He says 4 C's an emotional arc. So basically, if you follow this framework, you will actually get to telling a compelling story. Context, conflict, climax, and closure, right? So in context, you're setting the stage, you're setting the scene, you're telling people why they should care, what's in it for them if they read the entire article. That's the context. Now, conflict, this is where the trials, tribulations, struggle of that persona that you are talking about, that human that you're talking about. It could be a human in a B2B organization. That's okay, right? You're going to start talking about the conflict starts happening, the challenges you're talking about, the tensions it creates, the opportunities that are missed, right? And you're going to lift that emotional arc. And then you have that aha moment where your product or your service and how uniquely it solves that problem to really give a relief and basically that persona is now going to be thriving or triumphing, right? And then towards the end, you summarize all of that, give a single takeaway, and then have a clear call to action, right? Have a clear call to action. This is how you take that subtopic that you defined in the strategy and tell a compelling humanized story which moves people, right? Which moves people. All right. So let me tell you a story of a doctor in Illinois. He has an urgent care center. I'm going to call him David, right? To protect his privacy. I'm going to call him David. So David, he's a smart doctor. He knows thing too. He knows marketing is important. He needs to drive traffic. Post-COVID, what happened is the traffic to the clinic actually dried out. Traffic to the clinic dried out. The foot traffic is not there. And so he tried different marketing agencies, multiple of them. One of them actually was charging him almost $4,000 a month for doing what? I asked him, okay, are they writing any content? No. Are they updating any existing content? No. Are they doing something with your on-page SEOs? No. Are they running any campaigns? No. What exactly are they doing and why are you paying them? So he said, oh, they set up our Google Search Console and they send us traffic report every month. And I'm like, okay, it takes about 30 to 60 minutes max to set up your Google Search Console. And then without doing anything to affect the traffic, they send you traffic report. That's beautiful, right? You're taking a pile of cash and you're throwing in toilet, right? You're throwing in toilet. So he tried multiple agencies, spent $40,000, right, on the agencies. Then he actually heard about Market Engine on one of the webinar and then started working. And in 6 weeks, when I talked to him, now he has thousands of leads, warm and qualified, and the campaigns are performing 3 to 5 times better than industry. But most important compliment we got is, he said, you know what, the week your campaign goes out, my foot traffic of patient goes up by at least 5%, right? So this is how you kind of tell that story of the emotional arc and everything else. Okay, so we covered the content strategy in general and how to actually take that content strategy to tell powerful stories, humanized stories that move people, right? Now we're going to go, even if you have great content, if it is not recognizable, discoverable, and understood by search engine, it's going to sit on the shelf. So we're going to go to search engine. I'm going to cover for each one of these areas how AI will actually help you, right? AI will help you create the content, beautiful content, right, within a matter of minutes. And I'm going to show you that. Okay. So let's talk about SEO. Again, 51% website traffic comes from organic search. So organic search matters. Even if you want to spend money on paid ads, Facebook or whatever ad, Google ad, the problem is if your domain rating is low, most of your money is actually waste. You're taking a pile of cash and throwing in the toilet. Why? Because your traffic is low. Somebody else with the same keyword, has, let's say, 100 times more traffic than you because their domain rating is higher. Google algorithm is optimized for their own revenue. So they're going to give much lower bid to that other company, which has significantly higher traffic. And they're going to give significantly higher bid per click to you and your business. And your money is just going to eat up, right? And so it does not make sense to even do paid search if your domain rating is that low. That's why organic traffic is very, very critical to get you to a respectable level, right? 92% of those searches are done on Google. That's why when I talk search engine, it is synonymous to Google, for me at least. Okay, so 8 steps to create and execute your SEO strategy. First, you have to define your content strategy, which we talked about. Topic cluster, subtopic, pillar topic, depth and breadth. Quality content. What defines quality content? It is solving somebody's problem, your audience's problem. You're giving them something actionable. You're also doing it in a way where it's not dry. It's actually powerful, humanized story, right? So we already covered these two. Then you need to do a simple step, which takes less than a minute. Google search registration to make sure your pages are indexed and you are discoverable. That's when the fun part starts now, right? Then you have to look at on a given keyword that you are interested. Who are the top 10 on Google? And then you have to look at number 8, 9, and 10 and where they stand, because these are the people you got to beat to be on the first page, right? What is their domain authority? How many backlinks they have? You're going to look at that and then define your strategy to ultimately get there and beat them, right? Recently, for the term marketing engine, we started coming on first page of Google, right? So again, you can get there. Once you know your competition, you can start building your domain authority. How do we do that? We're going to cover each one of them in depth, but there are only 2 tricks here, right? One is great quality content, depth and breadth and freshness. And number 2, get backlinks from other site. Have other site refer to you. And we'll cover each one of them. Once your domain rating starts going up, then you have to also make sure your technical SEO, on-page SEO is done right so that the search engine not only discover you, but understand the content you have. It's readable for search engines as well. And then ultimately, you can you should know how to measure the success, right? Or if you're using agency, you should know how to hold them accountable. So strategy for higher ranking, right? So Google's framework, EAT, expertise, authority, and trust, right? Expertise, authority, and trust. So expertise and relevance. really, if you focus on solving problem for your audience, that starts demonstrating your expertise through your content, right? The authority, the depth, and the breadth and the frequency of the content, right? As well as the backlink you get. If somebody else who has domain rating of 90 or 80 or more, and they're referring to your site for a particular subject matter, that's beautiful, right? That's beautiful. Then, of course, trust. Again, if other people continue to refer your content, that starts building that trust. Once you're done with these three steps, and it's never done, you are kind of continually have to do it. You also have to make sure your content is discoverable with the right keywords, long tail keywords, and on-page SEO, right? That's the first step. The second step is quality content. I think we covered that in depth. The key here is solving your audience's problem and give them something actionable instead of saying 5 ways to solve something, and then one of the five is start small and scale fast. It doesn't give anybody anything, right? So make sure your content has the depth and breadth. You have the proper cluster. Make sure you make it actionable, and then the frequency matters. Different forms matter. Same blog, which is rich, you can actually convert into videos, you can actually convert into infographic, a social media post, and so forth. And you can create different derivative content out of that and push it through different channels, right? Google search registration, it takes 1 minute. You have to inspect the new URL and you have to request for indexing. That's about it. That's a very simple step. And then you have to look at the competitive landscape. We already covered this. Look at who is, for a given keyword, who is 8, 9, 10 on Google's first page. And then you're going to try to beat them, right? We are going to have a strategy to go towards, because their domain authority, their the keywords they're using, the number of backlinks they have, and you're going to top that, by making progress step by step by step. Also look at what they are doing right? Sometimes people are using keywords which you have not thought about. We had a logistics customer, and he said, he gave us the name of the competition. We looked at the competition and their keywords, and we said, hey, there is a term called Amazon Relay. They're using everywhere in their content. Does this ring true? And is this applicable to your business? And he said, yeah, we can use that term and we won't be unauthentic. We will be authentic. I said, okay, then you should be using that keyword because they're getting thousands of people and traffic because of that keyword, which you're not using, right? So you have to also look at what the competition is doing, because in some areas, being copycat actually is not a bad strategy here, right? But again, look at the competitive and start working on that. And then work on domain authority, right? How do you build that? It always starts with content, fresh content, focused content, depth and breadth. The author's credibility starts mattering, and then distributing that content through different channels, right? And then start getting quality as well as quantity of the backlink, and the quality matters more. If you get a backlink from a website which has 80 or 90 or more domain ranking, it will start affecting your domain ranking as well, right? And then Haro is no more there, right? This used to be one of the hack, but basically the way people actually get, number one thing you have to do is you have to, have the depth and the breadth and the freshness of the content, right? That's number one. And number two, same content, you can push it through LinkedIn and other mechanism and point people back to your website through Medium, through LinkedIn. There are times when we have built relationship with the reporter, met them in a conference. They ended up writing an article for us in Forbes, right? Other thing you can do is, once you have good content, you can actually offer somebody who is complementary to you but have a higher domain ranking to be a guest blogger or writer for their site, right? And if your content is good and they see it, you will get that opportunity and you will get a backlink. Okay. Let's go to technical SEO or on-page SEO now, right? Again, just like humans, we want the content to be readable. We want the content to quickly be able to browse and make sense out of. Same thing applies to search engines, right? So on-page or technical SEO makes it easy for search engine crawlers to find, access, and make sense of your content, right? So you have to have, these are some of the basics I'm mentioning here. You have to have the H1, H2 tag, the heading, subheading, the bullet points, snippets. You have to have a lot of white space. small paragraphs, really small paragraphs. You have to have the right meta description with the right keywords, and long tail keywords also in the content. Keyword density matters. If you do more than 2%, right, Google will actually penalize you for keyword stuffing. So what's the right keyword density? If you do less than 1%, it's too little. So you have to do somewhere in the middle, like 1.5% probably is a good idea. Now, what if you want to still use that keyword because that's what your story requires? Use synonyms in that case, right? If you're really reaching that point and you don't want to be stuffed, right? Then, of course, you have a clear call to action, and then you will have, for your videos or images, make sure you have alt text so that your, your content is understood by and recognized by Google, right? Okay. How do you measure your progress? A domain ranking, definitely, we talked about it. Organic traffic, and you can get it through Google Search Console and other mechanisms. There are other tools, commercial tools available. Keyword ranking becomes even more important when, especially your domain ranking is low, right? Number of backlinks, page load time would affect your bounce rate, right? So all of these becomes a key matrix for you to actually try. Now, if you look at both the topics we talked about, content as well as content and blogging, as well as SEO. AI can help you in many different ways, right? It can suggest you topics. It can suggest you subtopics. It can then suggest you a headline for the topic. It can actually create the content. It can infuse stories. From an SEO perspective, it can suggest keywords and long tail keywords and infuse those keywords and long tail keywords. And I'm going to show you examples of this towards the end because we're coming very close towards the end, right? So final takeaway, if you create high quality content that solves somebody's problem consistently and build that depth and breadth of the content, and then build domain authority with high volume, high quality backlinks, and do the on-page SEO right, you will start seeing growth in your organic traffic. Organic traffic takes time, but without getting your domain ranking to somewhat respectable level, just spending money on paid ad is a sin. And the agencies will tell you to do it because they don't care, right? They will take the money because you don't know anything, right? They will take the money and they will run that. They will say, yeah, I will run, Facebook ad or Google ads for you. And then we will see what happens, right? Okay. So now putting it all together, how AI can help demand generation. So we saw this problem, right? We saw this problem, how people are actually not able to drive demand, how businesses get stagnant beyond a certain point, right? How they struggle to drive demand. And so with Market Engine, what we have is a unified AI-powered solution that takes you from strategy to qualified leads step by step if you are B2B. And if you are B2C, it takes you from strategy to foot traffic. We actually started working with a coffee shop in Portola Valley in California here. And the guy calls me after 2 campaigns and he said, my daily booking, depending upon which day I'm looking at, comparing with last year, has gone up by 24 to 50%, right? And he said, my lows used to be, daily lows used to be $2,000 booking. Now I'm getting 3,000 or more, which used to be my extreme highs, right? And so bottom line is, if you are B2C, it drives traffic directly to your store or your website. And if you're B2B, it drives you qualified lead. We start with strategy and messaging, which fractional CMOs will take a couple of months and $20,000 or more. And then based upon that differentiated messaging and positioning, that is fed into our AI. And it creates blogs, articles, case studies, and long form content. And it creates in minute. I'm going to show you that, right? There are 3 key differences of the content that is generated compared with any generic ChatGPT stuff, right? One is it is highly aligned with your business and its differentiators. So it's unique and consistent with what you actually stand for, number 1. Number 2, it's story-based. So it's telling that humanized story that touches people hard. That's number 2. And number 3, the SEO optimization is already done in the content. You don't need to hire another SEO agency here, right? That's one. Now let's assume you have great content. And your domain rating is low. And it takes 6, 9, 12 months or more to get the domain rating up, right? what are you going to do? You don't have that patience. You don't have that time as a small business owner. So you're going to run. So what we do is we then run based upon these content, email campaigns, social media campaigns, and drip nurture campaigns to drive traffic to the website, to that great content you already have, so that it doesn't sit on the shelf, right? And then ultimately, based upon the interaction on those campaigns, we tell you if you're B2B, marketing qualified leads. If you're B2C, you're just directly going to see traffic going up in your store or in your website, right? So let me show you a quick demo how this can be done, right? So how AI actually can do this. So basically, my team usually comes here. We do a 1 hour session where we nail down the messaging for the business, right? And that messaging is fed into the software that we have. And then we can create long form content like blogs. And then based upon that, we can create email copies or email infographic, social media content, and then nurture sequences, right? Nurture sequences. So let me zoom on the side a little bit. And so here, when you come here, to create blogs, it knows about the company that you are actually working on, right? In this case, Startup Wind, and it knows that Startup Wind actually cares about digital marketing. So the suggestion it's giving me about the pillar topic, and again, AI is giving suggestion is about digital marketing, and then it's going to actually prompt me for subtopics. So subtopics for digital marketing could be blogging, SEO, email. It could be paid search, and then I go next. AI is giving me suggestions on keywords. I have those. AI is giving me suggestions on long tail keywords, right? And then I am ready to create blogs. For many startups and small businesses, in a year, if they write 3 or 4, it's a lot, right? Because people just don't have time. Here, in one click, it's not going to create one blog. It's going to create the pillar, and it's going to create 3 subtopic blogs. So it's going to create multiple blogs with just one click. So the entire cluster is actually ready and built in one click, right? And so when you click here, I'm not going to download, we can view it. You have a very elaborate blog ready or article ready, but not just one blog. You have the subtopic blog and another subtopic blog, right? Matter of minutes, right? With AI and human interaction. And my team then takes this over and then humanizes it, make sure the hallucination is not there, and actually converts into a powerful, compelling, humanized content. This is one of our customer story of $100 million daily, who is trying to grow in the United States. The challenges of Daphne, the brand director, how she is struggling because she doesn't have consumer insight, spent $400,000 on an agency to try to figure out, strategy consulting agency, to figure out the consumer insight, doesn't go anywhere. Management breathing down the neck, talks to Curve Jumper, finds that 3 weeks package, gets the consumer insight, and next year record revenue, right? Again, this is how the stories ultimately get ready, and then they start showing up on your website. Now, once you have the content, great. You still need to send people because your domain rating is low. You're not going to get that automatic. You still need to send people here. So how do we do that? Then we come here and say, okay, we want to send email campaign based, and I want to send that blog that we just created, right? And then you go and the blog is loaded here. You're going to select one of them, and then AI will give you suggestion with the EMV score, emotional marketing value score, right? And then I will skip the visual part, and then ultimately, you are ready to generate. It generates the email copy with the right subject line and preview text so that your open rates are high, the body and the call to action, but it does not stop there. It converts that into a visually compelling story of Daphne. And the key of this visual representation that is going through the email is industry standard click rates are 1 to 2%. We're getting anywhere between 9 to 45% click rates, phenomenally high click rates, because in 30 to 60 seconds, people are able to glance and make sense of that story. And so their interest level is significantly high, right? Same thing you can do with social media. You can go through the process. If you're B2C, you're going to do Instagram. If you're B2B, you're going to do LinkedIn. And then it will create very compelling on-message social media posts that you can use for organic traffic. Same thing you can do with creating a nurture sequence. You can do a 5-step or 6-step sequence. And then basically you will select how you want to send them through email. You can do all emails also, and LinkedIn or phone calls. and then it's going to create that entire sequence for you, right? You will have step 1, step 2, step 3, and that sequence can be set up so that you stay top of the mind of the prospect once they have already shown interest, right? So when the need arises and the budget is there, they think about you, they come to you, right? So I wanted to show you this really quick, how this can be done through AI at significantly efficient manner. I'm going to leave at least few minutes for Q&A. So, so let me wrap up last one slide. So ultimately, instead of waiting for months and months, 8, 9, 10 months, we have shown results in 3 to 6 weeks, initial results. So the demand gen is 10x faster. And since we use technology, you don't have to pay $10,000, $12,000 a month. You don't have, many of them don't even have that money, right? The cost is about 1/4 of the agency model, right? Because we have technology. The example I give is I came to US in 93. I was paying $2 a minute to call my mom. I pay nothing now. What changed? Technology. Same thing you are doing, right? We're using technology. This is the story of somebody from Arizona, right? And we have several entrepreneurs from Arizona who are using it. Spend a lot of money. Sharbani, you want to talk about it real quick?
Sure, Naren. So, Dan Zaretsky, a startup entrepreneur in Arizona, he had little marketing experience. Although he had a small budget, Dan ended up spending months and tens of thousands of dollars on marketing agencies. The impact on his pipeline was zero. Dan met us on a webinar like this, and within just a few weeks, Dan had thousands of warm leads and hundreds of qualified leads. Over the next few months, Market Engine delivered more than 7,000 warm leads and 10,000 marketing qualified leads for Dan. Dan gave us this testimonial in just 3 weeks, and by the 6th week, he did a full hour webinar with us. These are the kind of results our customers see, and just within weeks.
Again, what we wanted to demonstrate is the end-to-end integrated marketing should not be available only for large enterprises. The little guys and little gals, right, all of us like me and you can actually do enterprise class marketing, in a very, very cost-effective manner if you use AI, right? So with that, this is my email in case. I'm going to open it up for questions. I also have my Calendly, and the QR code is also there if you want to get that. I would be happy to do free consultation. I have been working with Robert and Faith and the Arizona ecosystem for last several years. So happy to give a free consultation to look at the state of marketing for your business. With that, I'm going to open up for Q&A at this point.
Yeah, so we got a couple good questions in here. It'll take us probably right to the end. The first one is Bevla Reeves, and Bevla's been a great partner. We've known her. She's been part of the Digital Academy and other programs. Her first question is, how many target markets are realistic? My customers seem to be in multiple demographics. How do you come up with a customer persona when you have many?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, and we will have customers who will actually want to target a couple of segments, 3 segments also, right? But if you're a really small company, they will have to prioritize, right? You cannot take whatever resources you have and spread it like peanut butter. So the key there is pick your top 2 segments, top 2 personas, and then you will end up creating messaging documents which are very separate for each one of those personas, which will get fed. That happens all the time. I mean, we see that all the time. Good question. Very good question.
The next one is the next 2 are from Becky. They're both timed really well. It says, I manage a real estate office. I am responsible for creating industry-specific blogs and newsletters. Sometimes my content feels repetitive. Examples: why to live in the White Mountains of Arizona, places to see, hiking trails, restaurants, etc. I've also shared how to prepare your home for sale. I did a lot of those blogs last year, and I feel like I'm trying to share the same content, but tell the story in a different, fresh way. I use Google Gemini, but it seems to suggest the same topics I feel I've already covered. Any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, again, the key would be, are you interacting with your personas or your buyers closely, right? So that you continue to uncover nuggets, right? In terms of the problem being solved. For example, until last week, I had no idea how the coffee shop was doing, and now I know how the coffee shop is doing. So are you in touch with your customers or your persona so that you're finding new nuggets and you are able to take those new nuggets to tell authentic stories, right? That's one way of doing it, right? You can continue to use AI to ask for more subtopic or even cater them towards areas where you are seeing more traction, right? So yeah, those are a couple of techniques you can use.
Okay, and then she has another follow-up that's, I think, really good for everybody to
Yep.
hear. It says, also, we pay a digital marketing company to manage the SEO, Google page, etc. I meet with them quarterly and sometimes still don't think I understand what they are saying, even though our rep re-explains the stats she shares with me. Do you have a resource that I can view online or a video to watch to understand the stats like click-through rate, engagement, user key event rate, etc.?
Yeah, yeah. I know we do have a couple of ebooks on the website. Happy to share those as well. If you go to our website and at the top there is a resources tab, there are some ebooks available. So happy to do that. Sharbani just pasted Market Engine, and again, no obligation whatsoever, but happy to do a free 30-minute consultation with you. If it helps you, it helps you, right? Happy to do that as well. Next question, please.
Yeah, and so I want to mention with Becky as well. Becky, on your reminder for today's webinar, it probably has my email. Feel free to respond back to me, and I can send you some links to previous bootcamp sessions that we've done that relate to SEO and Google that maybe have help as well.
Yep. There are a couple of more questions I see on the question. Robert, you want me to take that?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so one was, can you use ChatGPT to do this? The challenge with that is, you can try, definitely. What happens is the content you get is very generic. The first reaction when I read something like that is, oh, at least it's not wrong completely, right? And then second time when I read it, I'm like, oh, but it's anybody who is in my business could write something like this. So it's not differentiated. It's not telling unique story of my business because it doesn't know your company's unique positioning messaging, number one. And number two, it's not telling a story. So those are a couple of reasons it is not as effective, right? And then Richard is asking me pricing structure. So I'll give you a higher level answer. Higher level answer there is, I already mentioned you don't have to pay $10,000, $12,000 per month to agencies. Our cost is about 1/4 of that. So that should give you some idea about the pricing structure. But happy to, again, do a session with you, and answer your questions more.
Yeah, and for many of the businesses out there, you may not be in the market yet to even buy a marketing plan, but the content and the framework that Naren laid out at the beginning of the webinar was phenomenal to give you an idea of how you can start working yourself on many of those pieces to get things in play and get them starting to work for you. And I know the second session will have more of that to help you understand how you can do it on your own until you get to the point where you may be able to support the costs of a marketing service. So we are right at time. We want to thank Naren and Sarbani for their time and expertise today, and with the great slides and the illustrations on how to get things going. We appreciate all of you for being here with us on this Tuesday morning, taking time out of your day, and we hope it was beneficial to you. With that, we will go ahead and wrap up, but we hope everybody has a great rest of their week, and we will see you next Tuesday. Thanks, everybody.
I want to thank Robert and Faith, and of course Sharbani for doing this very late in the night. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Sharbani. Always a pleasure to be with you guys. Thank you again, and we'll see you in another month. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.